Now let's get into the biggest news that's just dropped as the podcast started. It's funny because I was only looking at some of the rumours yesterday going, surely not. There's no way. There's no way. But it's looking like not only has Spencer Leniu been confirmed to be leaving the Penrith Panthers at the end of this year, so he'll still be at the Panthers this year, guys, 2023. It's looking like, hasn't been confirmed yet, but if I was a betting man, I would say he's going to land there. He's going to the Sydney Roosters. Shocking scenes in the sense of, to think of a team that going into this year, you'll go, they don't need to recruit anyone, has just pulled off some of the best recruitment of some of the best young talent in the comp. Dominic Young, Spencer Leniu, they just re-signed Victor Radley reportedly. Suoli'i may or may not stay, but he's there at least for this year. Give me your thoughts, Gurino, on the big fella, two-time premiership winner, Spencer Leniu to the Roosters.
Yeah, huge get by the Chooks. You would have to assume that JWH coming to the back end of his career, this will probably be his last season, I would say. They're just incredible, the Roosters, how they managed to do this year in, year out. Obviously Spencer's a bench player for Penrith, but man, I think he's been so important to their last two premierships. The energy that he brings. I was watching their doco the other day. Fuck, you can see in that how important he is to that side. So there's the Roosters side that's fantastic, but geez, the Penrith Panthers, fuck, they're losing some troops.
Oh, and that's like, the interesting thing is, like, is this what happened at the Storm in other teams like the Roosters when they were at the top? Or is this a unique phenomenon with the Parra Eels? Like, are they genuinely losing more of their top-tier players than the Roosters and the Storm during their dominance? It'd be interesting to find, like, if someone could, go through and look at, like, the big-name players lost after premierships at the Storm and Roosters. And is it just normal, par for course, this is what happens at big clubs? Or is it pretty crazy that you've got Api Koroisau gone, Kikau gone, Crichton gone, Spencer Leniu gone? It's pretty, and Kurt Capewell was an Origin player when he was gone.
Yeah, I think when you look back at that Melbourne Storm side, like, they obviously had the big three that they kept together the whole time. And if Penrith do keep Cleary, Isaiah Yeo, these sort of guys, Dill Edwards, I can understand that. Api's the one that stands out for me. That he feels like a guy that Melbourne wouldn't have lost.
Yeah.
So you do look back at those Melbourne sides, like the amount of guys that came and went during that period between your GIs, your Mick Crockers, your Kev Proctors, your Tohu Harrises, these sort of guys. I think it did happen, but I don't know. It feels different with this Panther side to me. I'm not sure why. It feels a little bit like they are losing more than what it felt like Melbourne did.
It may be because, when you got Cam Smith, Billy Slater, Cooper Cronk, it's very easy to go, come on, they'll be right. Whereas, really out of that three, let's say Api Koroisau, Cleary and Edwards was a three, really only Cleary's in that same ballpark as those greats. So maybe that's why. And look, I think we both agree. It's not panic stations for Penrith Panthers at all, but it is interesting. Timmy, what are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, mate, it's come sort of hand in hand with news. The Glebe Dirty Reds, one of the oldest clubs in rugby league history, have signed as a feeder for the Sydney Roosters. So big Spencer Leniu will probably be coming off the bench in Ron Massey Cup. They're that stacked, the Roosters. It's almost sickening. So we won't get into why they're stacked. We can make our own assumptions there. But, mate, for the Roosters, fantastic signing, isn't it? It's particularly, you've got Lindsay Collins there up front, Matty Lodge, who are these. Probably wouldn't define them as explosive front rows. They can be on their day, but they're these big minute front rows. They get to their big work rates and so vital to a club. So Spencer Leniu obviously going over there to play that, what we would expect be a bench role, where he just comes and brings that X factor and that punch through the middle off the pine. Exactly what the Roosters will be able to use, and a terrific signing for them.
What do you got there, Matty?
I was just gonna say, I think this Penrith thing is unique because pretty much all their players, including their biggest one, Cleary, they all came through together. And so when they started 3 or 4 years ago, they were all minimum. It's not like they'd even bought pretty much anyone. So now they've won 2 comms. All their value has gone up. It's not like I'll use Rabbitohs for example. They had a lot of juniors, but they still bought Inglis and they still bought Sam Burgess. Yep. All of these players, and they bought them for big money. So all these players are now worth so much. I think that's why they've probably lost more than other teams in recent years.
Good point. And essentially at the same time, not slowly. It truly is an example of. And look, Melbourne Storm develop their own players because they usually get them before they arrive, in first grade outside of Crocker. But this genuinely is an example of essentially all players. Kikau came. you could say Kikau, Api Koroisau came across, but all those younger players like Taylor May would have been not on minimum after last year. Isaiah Tungor, not on minimum. Critter, obviously not on minimum. Cleary, Luai, Edwards, Fisher-Harris, Leota. I will say, for Penny Panthers fans, don't stress too much because Leota and Fisher-Harris, guess how old they are? And don't you dare do this like
I'm
21.
I'm rattled now. What do you reckon, Tim?
Leota and Fisher-Harris, probably 27.
Yep, 27. So they've still got, you could argue, the best years of their career ahead of them.
I was going to say 15.
You saw him playing in fucking the local league juniors fucking 2 years ago. So don't stress too much. Like, it's not like you're sitting there going, oh, far out. Like we haven't got premier. We've got premier front rows, but they're in their second last year of rugby league. They're 30 years old. In 2 years' time, they're going to be gone. And who have we got coming through? There's a boom front rower. Spencer Leniu absolutely is a big loss. There's no denying that. But I don't actually think it's on the field. Like, his explosiveness on the bench will be felt for sure. Like, the amount of times he would come on and change it. But I actually think there's a more interesting discussion around. There's this core group of players that are from Western Sydney, and I'm pretty sure he's a part of that. Like, you've got Luai, Spencer Leniu, Critter, Bizza, May. I think Tungo is as well.
Tungo is as well.
And and so you're starting to, when you're looking at why are the Penrith Panthers great? They're great because they've got a great system, a great setup, a great coach, a great seven. But they're also great because they're playing for something bigger than just the footy team that they're in. They're playing for where they grew up, and also they're playing for an area that is, historically quite disadvantaged. So they've got a chip on their shoulder, rightfully so. 5 years ago, if you said you're from Mount Druitt, everyone goes, "Oh, far out." Now, if you say you're from Mount Druitt, everyone goes, "Oh, fuck, that's mad." Like, you're from where the boys are from, and that's all off the back of, obviously, the music industry with 1-4 and everything like that, but also those boys in that Penrith Panthers side making it cool to be from Western Sydney.
Yeah, tuning into that Panthers doco the other day, mate, the first 10 minutes, the words community pride must have been said 10 times in the opening 20 minutes. Like, you can see that it matters to them. It's important. And, mate, as much as, they're losing players, I'm so excited to see if this system is as good as what we think they are. They've won every grade below them over the last few years. And I think people in a few years' time will realise how those lower grades have also been picked apart, like the first grade side has. There's been stars going everywhere. You think back to the trials, the Sharks halfback that we wrapped the ball. He was from there. Like, there's been a heap of guys that are at different clubs that have come from this Panthers system. So if they manage to build these guys up and put them in there again and keep doing what they're doing, like, you have a look, 3 different left centres, 3 grand finals in a row, for example. It's incredible. And, like, he's going to be a really big loss, no doubt about it. But, like, they've got a guy like Matt Eisenhuth, who's been just outside of the 17 the entire time. He'll come
Sorensen.
Yeah.
One of the best friggin' bench players in the comp.
Hoskins, like, he'll come in and have impact. I'm really excited to see what they do. And I think that if this side can win, a premiership this year, and continue it next year after losing all these guys, it's going to be unbelievable.
I will say with Spencer, though, he does have a unique body shape and way he plays.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of another front rower in the comp that comes on and plays the way he does and the speed he does. Timmy, what are your thoughts? Do you feel like, is there a deeper conversation of they're losing, obviously they've got younger guys coming through that are from the area, but they're really, when they play, you can see they're playing for more than rugby league.
I think you boys touched on it really well in terms of Spencer Leniu. He's such an integral part of that side, particularly off the field, and what he does for the community, being a local from the area. Big loss. On field, and this is not a criticism of Spencer Leniu, but I think they will be absolutely fine. Leniu hasn't averaged more than 24 minutes per game in the NRL. And that's not against him. That is because he plays in this stacked Penrith Panthers forward pack. That's his role, to be this X factor off the bench. When you've got Isaiah Yeo playing in the middle with James Fisher-Harris, Moses Leota, who are 3 guys who bugger all injuries between them over the years, opportunities haven't really presented, and they're all can be big minute middle forwards. So he just hasn't really incredibly had the opportunity to play those bigger minutes. And to be honest, even over the years during the Origin period when they lose a few middle forwards like Isaiah Yeo, Leniu's never really been the one that they've gone to as, all right, you're coming and starting and we want 50 minutes out of you. Never. When there's injuries, suspensions.
He's got a very specific role, doesn't he?
He does. So in that sense, it shows how important he is in that 20 to 25 minutes that he does play. But they need the next bloke coming in only needs to fill a 25-minute role. Like, it's not the end of the world.
And it's something that really stands out for me when you look at that Panthers squad. Like, there's an edge back row spot up for grabs now. no one's even talking about Scott Sorensen because the role that he plays off the bench is so
true.
important.
Yeah,
and as you said, when it's Origin time, whatever, or there's injuries in the front row, they grab Matt Eisenhuth and they put him in because he's the guy that plays the longer minutes. And they just keep Spencer in his role. It's so impressive what they've managed to do, the role that Mitch Kenny plays, the way they use Api off the bench. They've just got specific set roles that they'll have to adapt. But you look at how they've adapted over the last few years, like, bet against them, I dare you.
Yeah. It's a really exciting time. Like, it sucks that they're losing Spencer Leniu, but it's exciting times from a footy fan because this is what separates the Storm and the Roosters. Storm more, though. I would say Storm have just been so good at staying dominant throughout all of those years. This is really what I would say they're in a dynasty already for sure. But this is where you go, do they have the same long-term systems that like the Storm do?
And this is where if they keep winning, I think this could separate their dynasty from other ones, personally.
Yeah.
It's also exciting for Spencer Leniu. We've sort of sat there and watched him over the years and gone, we want to see him in more minutes. What's he got to offer in bigger game time? I don't know how much he'll get at the Roosters. Time will tell. But if he does go into a 40 to 45 minute role, how does he handle it? How dominant can he be as a front row in the NRL? So just great opportunities all around.
Just before we get to the Roosters side of this, the country tour, the regional tour, is powered by Ringers Western. Apologies, forgot to say that. But yeah, the Ringers Western community has been gracious enough to come on board with the country tour. So make sure to head over to Ringers Western, give them a follow. We'll also be releasing, I should get confirmation over the next day or two, but we'll be releasing Bloke and Ringers Western collab gear. We've never released this kind of stuff on Bloke, so you guys will absolutely love this. We're talking work shirts, all that great stuff, Country Bloke, all that cool stuff. So we've obviously only released the Country Bloke t-shirt. We haven't released Country Bloke work shirts. We're going to do that with Ringers Western. It should come in a couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. And as I said, the Bloke Regional Tour is powered by Ringers Western. So thank you so much to the legends over there that have got on board. They support us. That helps us do what we do, guys. So get behind them because they're getting behind us. Now onto the Roosters side of things. Again, this explosive player that is like super high energy, super through the middle. The Roosters have gone after. Like, there is no denying that. I mean, there could be denying, but it does seem like ever since the rule changes have come in and the different style of rugby league we're playing, the Roosters have gone, this is the way we want to play. We want to recruit explosive, good footwork, good in contact through the middle players. Boom, they land Spencer Leniu. It's a really interesting time for the Roosters because ironically, and there's always pressure at the Roosters, and there's no denying that, but it's getting to the point where if they don't win a comp in the next year or two, it's almost, I wouldn't say laughable because I don't want to disrespect anyone. You can get injuries or whatever, but let's say they all stay injury-free. If they don't win a comp in the next couple of years, when you look at that roster, you almost go, what's doing? Like, that roster is outrageous. Like, it's one of the craziest rosters I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm trying to think of, the last time I saw a roster like this, you're looking like early 2000s, I reckon, where like the big clubs could really just pull in everyone. I'm trying to think of a roster that's this hectic ever before.
It's a Broncos-like roster of the early days.
Yeah.
It's
crazy. Kiri Origin player. Sam Walker, one of the best talents we've ever seen coming out of school in the 7 role. You've got Hargreaves, international. You've got Lindsay Collins, Origin player. Matt Lodge would probably been an Origin player if if all the drama in his career hadn't happened. Then you've got the outside back, Suoli'i, one of the best outside backs since guys like Israel Folau, Greg Inglis coming through. Tedesco, arguably the second best fullback of all time. I mean, the list goes on. Joey, the list goes on. We all get that. From a Roosters perspective, it's interesting because I don't see him being signed. Like, not people. You would have to assume that he is going to take Hargreaves' contract. That's where they've got the money from, is because Hargreaves is probably not going to be there next year, or at least not next year, the year after. But what's interesting is he's not a like-for-like for Hargreaves. He's quite a different player. So it'd be interesting to see, first of all, how much it was. And you could argue it's a gamble to pay a player that much on the bench when you've already got Lodge and Lindsay Collins in the front row. What are your thoughts from the Roosters' perspective?
I agree with you, mate. Like, he's not a like-for-like. He's almost closer to Takiaho than what he is to
He's closer to Cheese.
Well, that was going to be my next point. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with Cheese now, because whether they play, whether they've got in mind that he will be an 80-minute hooker. I heard Robbo say the other day that that's the grand plan, to have him as an 80-minute 9.
Oh, mate,
I'm not convinced.
He's got to defy physics to do that.
Yeah, which I don't, and I don't think you'd want him to be an 80.
I don't like it. Like, that's not what his game is. His game is bash through the middle, super line speed, aggressive. You physically can't do that for 80 minutes.
And you have a look through the Roosters system, like they've got a gun hooker in just about every grade at the moment. So I reckon that they'll be able to bring one of those guys through. And there could be next year there could be a 25-minute period where you put Cheese and Spencer Leniu on the field as middle forwards.
Could you imagine
the
pace of the ruck?
Teams away. Then you get Joey Manu in at dummy half, Teddy. Like, I think that with the Brandon Smith one, I think we've all discussed that we're not quite sure how it works as a signing. But fuck, if they do it properly and they can find another 9 to come in and play the back, 50 minutes of the games, or if they can just convince Cheese to be a middle, the Roosters are going to be scary.
The thing is like with my footy brain, I almost like I go, I couldn't make it work, but I know Robbo. Yeah. He's a genius at rugby league, so I know that he's surely got a plan for all of this.
And you know that Robbo doesn't go out and sign just the guys he can get. He goes and signs the guys that he wants for a purpose.
Yep, absolutely. What do you reckon from a Roosters perspective, Timmy?
Yeah, I mean, football-wise, absolutely fine. Spencer Leniu will add so much. As you said, it leads into that. We've spoken all pre-season about around Cheese going there and how they're going for that explosive through-the-middle approach. And Spencer Leniu, what a more perfect person to get in for that to suit the modern-day game. I suppose I look at it from a roster perspective, and being so super coach, at the forefront of the mind, it's about roster management and it's about finding value in players. And I sort of probably... being critical, look at the signing and go, we don't know what money's on for starters. But I imagine it'd be, you've seen figures floating about other clubs and what he wanted at the Doggies or what the Doggies were sort of willing to offer and whatnot. It's a pretty good chunk of coin. So I wonder whether a bloke who has said averaged 24 minutes per game last year and has never been really much more is worth a decent chunk of the cap. And I might be wrong, and maybe they signed him on 300-400K, but I'm not sort of convinced they have. So
it's a weird spot because he's worth more than 300 or 400, but at the same time, when you look at it from that perspective of like a balancing of a squad, like you go, well, he's coming off the bench, it's 20 minutes. Can we afford to do that? Then that means that another forward that's playing 60 minutes is going to get a smaller contract. It's a really interesting way to do it. And
I don't know, is he worth more than 400K? Because if he's a 25-minute bench forward, then no, he's not. You could absolutely tear people to pieces in those 25 minutes, but you'd want to be scoring 3 tries and setting up another 3 to be on over 400K for a 25-minute role. So, and look, maybe he comes in and plays 45 minutes and he's just belting blokes and makes a massive difference, but I haven't seen that yet. We've seen Penrith's reluctance to play him more than 25 minutes. So, my gut feel says possibly overs, but... maybe he's got those minutes in him, so we'll see. And
like when you see guys sign with the Roosters, from most, like a Dom Young, for example, like that's obviously not confirmed, but in my mind, I would go, okay, Dom Young's probably taken 150, 200 pay cut to be able to win premierships.
I don't think he is at the Roosters. That's what I'm saying. I don't think Dom Young is.
I've heard differently, but okay.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I've heard that. I heard reportedly that the Knights offer is around 500, but it was the lowest offer.
Right. Okay.
Guru's got Politis on speed dial. Give him a buzz after the show.
But like normally when guys sign with the Roosters, you go, okay, they've given a little to receive, but there's no why would Spencer Leniu go, I'll take unders to come to this? I'm at the Panthers.
I know. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Like there's more. Like a lot of people have Panthers as a favourite again to go three-peat, and also you would probably say. Like the Roosters, they've been dominant for so long. So you go, how could you bet against them? But like when you look at the juniors coming through at the Panthers, you go far out. Like you'd be a brave man to bet against them not winning a couple of premierships in the next few years. And he's from the area as well, so it matters to him.